afternoon, Saitlanders. How are you? This poor computer is struggling to keep up. I saw a little bit of a freeze there. I'm going to talk to you very quickly because I'm waiting for a call from Saitlander's head of legal. What am I actually doing here? Do I know? I think it's like kind of everything I do. You sort of feel my way. I begin slightly switched off. I have to warm up. Okay, so here's the story. This is what I wanted to talk to you about. Another installment in the chicken and doggy saga. So, as you guys know, I've been sharing some stories of events that have happened with my animals, partly as just nice anecdotes, or maybe not so nice in the case of Casimir and Polis, who died, both of whom died, and partly because sometimes they have some sort of prepping relevance, you know, and then again partly some political relevance sometimes, as in the story of Casimir. Anyway, so over the past couple of weeks, my chickens got Newcastle disease, virulent Newcastle virus, something like that. Virulent Newcastle disease, something. Anyway, I went to see Oom Johan about it as a former chicken farmer. I think at one point he had something like 25,000 chickens. And he gave me some advice, and then I chatted to another Oomie who's a lifelong chicken fanatic. He gave me a bit of advice. And quite frankly, the advice came down to the same thing. So, that's the one thing. Gee, this shirt looks a bit dirty. I don't know what happened there. And I can't even get my hand on the right side. Anyway. Gracious me. Anyway, guys. So what is the story? Yeah, so then my bitch Bella had a litter of 6 pups by Louis Hutton's Belgian Malinois. You might have heard the story. Anyway, and they fell ill in the same week, or overlapping the same week, as the chickens got this second time Newcastle disease. So I lost in the first batch, or in the first strike of the Newcastle disease, I lost, I think, 11 chickens, something like that. And then one fell ill, and I treated it as I'd been advised, and we're going to talk about it in a second. And she came right, and she was on her last legs. And Newcastle disease is quite a horrible thing. It's sad to see how they die. They kind of stretch their bodies out and twist their necks. So while all of that was going on, while I was treating her, I scrubbed down my whole yard, like everywhere that you can think of. And it's impossible to do it properly unless you are willing to sacrifice all of your plants and all of your lawn and your carpets and so on. I mean, if you consider where an animal might have been, where it might have come into your kitchen, let's say, my chickens often come into my kitchen or into the lounge. If you scrub everything down with bleach and chlorine, as I did, well, I mean, it could be on your lawn. My chickens, those of you who live in Van der Kloof or who visit Van der Kloof will know that my chickens graze on my front lawn when it suits them. So yeah, when I say that I scrub down everything, it's as much as you can practically do without destroying your property. And as I say, the dogs fell sick simultaneously. So got extra thick bleach, 5 liters of it, blitzed this whole place. Then I got HTH, big thing of HTH, cost me $300, crazy, and I scattered it everywhere that it wouldn't do manifest harm, and even some places where it would do harm. And then as I said to you, I treated the chicken. Now, what I did was I put water next to her. They become crippled and they can't move, paralyzed. And the last thing that they can't move is their neck. So they kind of lie on the ground because they can't stand up, they can't sit. So they're prostrate and they can just move their heads a little bit. I got a little bowl and put water in it with this stuff. This is oxytetracycline. I don't think that you can see in the light there, but there we go. Oxytetracycline, 5.5% WS. I don't know what WS means. Now, I should mention that this oxytetracycline was given to me as a gift about 4 years ago, and I'd like to record my thanks here and now to the person who gave it to me as a gift. So this is an antibiotic. And I sprinkled a bit of it in the chicken's water, and this one chicken came right. Wow, fantastic. I've scrubbed everything, I've cleaned everything, I've detoxified, or whatever you call it, antisepticided everything, and lo and behold, about a week later, we'll get back to the dogs in a minute, a week later, I find another one of my prize Orpington hens, beautiful big black thing, enormous, that I got from Tommy, who used to live 2 doors down from me, or who still owns the house 2 doors down from me, who many of you know, a wonderful, 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 wonderful man. Yeah, it's a fantastic hen, and she kicked the bucket. I couldn't rescue her. She was too far gone, and it just happened like that. So, again, we're going to come back to the dogs. So I'm doing the chickens chronologically up to a point, and I'll go back to halfway through the story and resume with the dogs. Then a couple of days ago, another one of my beautiful prize black Orpington hens that I got from Tommy Graylen, fell ill. And I was absolutely moedeloos. Again, in this case, in this instance, I was able to use the oxytetracycline again, putting it in the water, and the hen was able to drink. And I've just seen now that after 2 days roughly of treatment, she's gone from being prostrate to sitting up to crawling. They kind of squat and crawl like that if they can, to actually standing up and limping or hobbling. So that's a very good thing, and I'm very grateful to the person who gave me this gift some years ago. Now, in all of this, as I said to you, the dogs fell ill, and I was all at sea at first, and I spoke to Sharna down the road, and Sharna said to me, sorry, I should just rewind and tell you that I got a dog called Polus Stephanus, just a fantastic dog. And I assumed, because the Huttons, those of you who know the Huttons will understand this story, because they're so self-sufficient on top of the mountains. I mean, Marguerite has both milch cows and milch goats, and from their milk she makes cream and butter and cheese, you name it. And that's just for instance. That just illustrates how self-sufficient they are. Louis grows his own lucerne. In other words, he's a stock farmer, but he also grows lucerne rather than buy it in when he needs it. And he sell. They are very, very, very self-sufficient. For that reason, I assumed, almost without thinking about it, if that makes sense, that the puppies had received their first jova and deworming and what have you. It didn't even cross my mind that they hadn't. Polus fell ill. I left it for a couple of days. It became too late. I raced out to Colesberg received the worst service I have ever received in a moment of emergency and trauma of my life. Unbelievable. So they couldn't help me, the vets in Colesberg. It's not even that they couldn't help me, it's how they handled the matter that upset me so much. I just couldn't believe it. It's like the woman at the front wanted to be miserable and wanted to make other people miserable. Like she spends much of her time waiting for that gap, you know. So I dashed through to, first I went to Forrie Smith. And that vet, on that one day, was not in. So then I went to the vet in, is it Tromsburg, the state vet. It was all locked up. That whole complex, if you've ever been, is it Tromsburg or Forrie Smith anyway, so I went to the commercial vet in Forrie Smith, the normal vet, and then when you get to the Jagersfontein Road, the T-junction, there's like a state vet complex on the corner there. Not one soul in that entire place. Can you believe it? Anyway, so that's 1, 2. Then Colesberg. Then Gariep. That vet helped me. She did what she could, but she said to me I was wasting money. In other words, in her opinion, Polis was too far gone. And I watched that poor dog die in suffering and grief of parvovirus, cat flu. Those of you who are familiar with it will understand that at a certain point, the money makes no difference. The treatment makes no difference. So, yeah, I learned a lot out of that. So, I get these new puppies, right? 6 puppies out of Bella by Louis Belgian Malinois, Gibbs. The one with the papers. If you've ever seen the dog, if you've ever met it, it's got papers going back to the 1800s. Comes out of like one of the top lions in the world. And they together have made really outstanding puppies. I'm a little bit cynical about that kind of stuff. You know, people say to me, isn't that puppy beautiful? And I'll say, in fact, cynical is not the word. I'm realistic. No, it just looks like another puppy. You know, every baby is beautiful maybe, but I'm not so sure about that. These, I must concede, are quite special. I'd say that 5 of the 6 puppies are exceptionally good looking. Okay, so puppies fall ill. Chickens are dying hand over fist, scrubbing the entire place down, sprinkling chlorine just everywhere. And the first thing I did was, Narina said to me, look, you don't, in the absence of the right medicine, right now, give them deactivated charcoal or activated charcoal, whatever it is, and blue liquid. People scoff and sneer at that, but, you know, it really works. I said to her, fine, 100%. Narina, for those of you who don't know, is my friend Oom John's wife. And he doesn't work in the vicinity. He lives in a nearby town, or actually a faraway city where he works. So I keep Narina and I keep one another company quite a lot. So she was the first person I spoke to about this thing. She said, just do the charcoal and yeah, listen, you know that you're not allowed in here. Outside. You can't believe how clever these puppies are. I'm accustomed to dom dogs, but these puppies have learned you can't just in a few days. Okay, so back to the story. It's already been 14 minutes. Focus, Simon, focus. So I began with that, the charcoal and the blue liquid, and it works. It works. People sneer at things like Zambuck. Zambuck works. Zambuck works. When I was a lifeguard, I was a very serious, actually, strictly speaking, what we call in South Africa a lifesaver. So it's a person who's qualified as a lifeguard, but they don't do it as a job. They do it voluntarily on Sundays and public holidays and things like that. They relieve the professional lifeguards. Give them a day off. And I was very serious, very competitive, etc. But I thought that I was clever, and therefore I didn't wear suntan or spectacles. And I damaged the nerves at the back of my eye, and I have a condition called photophobia, which means fear of light. Light fear. Photo, light, phobia, fear. Meaning that the nerves have been damaged so badly that they're in a constant state of the scarring on them makes them permanently sensitive to light, and it can become quite painful. And similarly, back to the point, I got these 2 blotches on my skin, my own fault, nobody else's, because I thought I was tougher and cleverer than everybody else. So my point is, if I put Zambuck on these things, they just go away. The stuff is marvelous. It's incredible. In the same way, charcoal and blue liquid, somebody scoffed at me when I mentioned, or sneered when I mentioned that I was using blue liquid for the dogs. It works. But it stabilized them, but they weren't coming 100% right. So I got a hold of the vet in Fourie-Smith by phone. And he said to me, look, as with your dog Polis, who died, he said, you can come through on Monday. Unfortunately, it was a Friday afternoon, Friday evening. He said, I can't help you now. And you can come through whenever it was that he was able to see me. He said, I'll gladly help you. I want to help you, but what you have is a severe thing. He asked me, how old are the animals? And when I told him, he said, oh, dear me. He then said to me, what breed are they? And I told him that they're mongrels and out of what they come. And he said, oh, dear me. Implying that they're a frail thing and that they didn't stand much chance. So he wasn't unhelpful. He's a great guy. Dr. Murray, but he didn't hold out much hope. Anyway, so I got hold of Elise Nell. Some of you from Johannesburg will know Elise Nell, a long time loyal and faithful Suidlander who moved some years ago to Pietersville, and which is about 15 kilometers from where I live in Van der Kloof, and she's an animal fanatic. And Elise said to me, don't worry about a thing, bring the dogs down to me and I'll do a few things for them. She said, I work so closely with a number of vets that I'm in the fortunate position that they will often say to me, she treats dogs in the townships, animals in the townships, pets in the townships. So for that good deed, the vets and what have you, give her all sorts of mooties and things. Anyway, so, boom, right, off to see Elise Nell. And she gave me some similar products to this oxytetracycline that I showed you just now. Not the same, and I'm not pretending that they're the same, and I'm not qualified to discern the similarities or the differences between them. However, according to the little bit of research I've done, they are fundamentally broad spectrum antibiotics that are very effective, partly on humans, also on animals, and on different species of animals. Meaning that they are versatile. Right. Okay, so what am I going to show you? This is not, by the way, to get you to buy oxytetracycline. It's just to tell you a story, an anecdote, a tale about the adventures of learning to work with animals semi-properly for the first time in my life, and the ups and downs of it, and to maybe encourage you to know that there are solutions other than commercial solutions, which may be beneficial in the years that lie ahead of us. Amoxicillin and cloxilan. This one here, I can't even remember. Okay, so this is Protexin. It's a white powder that stops the runs and vomiting. And it supposedly, well, I suppose it does, boost the immune system. This is Perbac, also antibiotic for dogs. And this here, sherbet. I don't want to show it to you because I've suddenly hit a brain freeze. I did make a note about it and I can't find the note. Oh, gracious me. I'll have to phone Elise, find out what those pills are before I use them. But long and the short of it is that I was able to save all 6 puppies from that terrible parvovirus cat flu, when previously I lost a puppy, just about 4 or 5 weeks before that. The beautiful, beautiful, marvelous dog Polis that Louis Hutton very generously and kindly gave me under very particular circumstances, which I won't enumerate here, but meaningful circumstances. Thank you, Louis, and thank you, Marguerite. So yeah, that's it. That's the gist of the story. That the dogs were saved through dramatic intervention by charcoal and blue liquid. Even though some people sneer at blue liquid, it worked for our ancestors for generations and generations and generations. And like Zambuk, I'm telling you, that stuff works. And the charcoal works. It stabilized the dogs. And then a local Saitlander gave me a few antibiotics, and boom, I was able to save the dogs, just as I have in recent weeks saved 2 of the chickens, 2 of the 3 chickens that have fallen ill in a kind of a second wave of virulent Newcastle disease, following the first wave in which I lost 11 or 12 or something like that. Anyway, that's it, guys. Gee, what a long story. 22 minutes. I think it's about the longest video I've ever done. Thank you for your patience in watching this video. May God be with you in the times that lie ahead of us. I say that very sincerely, not flippantly at all. May our Lord bless and keep you. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Cheers.